For 30 years, my husband and I shared a harmonious and respectful marriage. Before his death, he clutched my wrist tightly. "My lady, if there is a next life, I beg you to give the chance to save me from the mire to your stepsister, so I may share a lifetime of love with her." With tears in my eyes, I nodded and said, "Very well." As the spring breeze swept across the green brick courtyard, I stood in a daze, gazing at the disheveled young man kneeling before the steps. "This time, I'll grant you the closure you've longed for." Unmelted remnants of snow clung stubbornly between the blue bricks, while icicles under the eaves trembled on the verge of dripping. The familiar scene jolted me awake. I had actually been reborn 30 years into the past. The curses of a servant boy rang in my ears. Where did this stinking beggar come from? Get lost. I instinctively quickened my steps toward the door and saw a slender figure in a dark blue robe. The young master prostrate on the steps. Those hands, once capable of composing brilliant essays, were now blue with cold in the biting wind, pale and almost translucent. That was the 19-year-old Rebirth, my husband in my past life, with whom I shared 30 years of mutual respect and harmony. In my memory, those withered hands suddenly gripped my wrist. Amid the medicinal haze of the bed curtains, his clouded eyes welled up with tears. "My lady," he whispered, "if there is a next life, I beg you to let your stepsister Kira have the chance to save me from the mire, so that I may share a lifetime of love with her." A brittle twig snapped beneath the corridor, jolting me back to the present. The chill of tears soaking my front still lingered, and my palms seemed to retain the icy touch of his burial clothes. Footsteps rustled behind me. My half-sister Kira Lin was approaching with her maid in tow, the begonia flowers at her temples trembling lightly with each step. "Elder sister." She paused in confusion. "Aren't we supposed to be going to White Cloud Temple to offer incense and pray? Why have you stopped?" I clenched my palm tightly, my nails digging into the old scar I had brought back from my rebirth. The dying sigh of Rebirth from my past life still echoed in my ears. Even after 30 years of mutual respect and harmony, in the end, the heart remains unfulfilled. I pulled my thoughts back and looked at the bright, innocent girl before me. "Kira." I heard my own hoarse voice say, "We won't go today." I heard an injured bird chirping at the door. "Go take a look." The girl's almond-shaped eyes suddenly lit up as she lifted her skirt and ran outside. I took a few steps back, hiding behind the corridor pillar, just in time to see everything happening outside the door. Sister lied. "There's no cute little bird, it's just a beggar." "You, don't come so close to me." The young man's voice from memory urgently rang out. "Miss, please don't misunderstand. I'm a scholar on my way to the capital for the imperial exams. I've fallen into such dire straits because I lost my travel funds. Here is my identification document, complete with the official seal." Rebirth took out the scholar's certificate he kept close to his body and handed it to Kira Lin for inspection as if presenting a treasure. Kira Lin wrinkled her nose and leaned in for a quick glance when she saw the ranking on the document. Her almond-shaped eyes brightened noticeably. "All right, since you're a poor scholar, I'll help you this once. Someone, go fetch some food for this gentleman." "Yes, second miss." The maid following behind hurried to comply. Sierra River's body stiffened slightly, his lips moved several times, but in the end, no sound came out. I guessed his dilemma. Given his current predicament, he needed some silver to tide him over until the spring examinations, yet, burdened by a scholar's pride, he couldn't bring himself to ask outright. In my past life, valuing talent, I not only gave him 20 taels of silver but also secretly helped him navigate the harassment from powerful candidates in the capital. My sister, naive and radiant, couldn't empathize with the hardships Rebirth had endured. To her, offering him some food during his destitution was already a great kindness. I watched the young man standing awkwardly and helplessly at the door, feeling a slight ache in my heart. I hoped his love in this lifetime would be fulfilled. 2 months later, on the day the exam results were posted, the servant who went to check the list ran back to the minister's residence in excitement. "Congratulations, second miss. The scholar you helped has passed the imperial examination." My younger half-sister excitedly grabbed my arm and shook it. "Elder sister, Scholar Xie's knowledge is truly remarkable. Do you think he has a chance to make it into the top 3? I nodded in my stepsister's bright almond-shaped eyes. He probably will. In my past life, Rebirth gained the Emperor's favor with his powerful and elegant small regular script and unconventional policy essays, and was personally appointed as the Tanhua, third top candidate in the imperial examinations. To repay my timely assistance, he came to propose marriage on the day of the horse parade. I was the esteemed legitimate daughter of the Minister of Personnel. While a Tanhua scholar was only selected once every 3 years, my parents did not think highly of Rebirth, who came from a humble background, but I had secretly given him my heart and begged my parents to agree to the marriage. After marriage, I utilized the connections and financial resources of the Shongshu mansion to help Rebirth navigate the court, aiding his rapid rise to prominence. The household affairs were also managed meticulously by me, ensuring he had no worries at the rear. Yet no matter how much I sacrificed for him, it still couldn't compare to his unattainable love for his half-sister. As the renowned top-talented lady of the capital, even my approval of Rebirth only made his half-sister grow more smug. Sister, on the day we met Lord Xie, it was supposed to be you who went out first, yet it was me who helped him. Don't you think our fate was destined by heaven? What if he comes to propose to me out of gratitude for saving his life? Should I accept him? The younger sister blushed at her own speculation, looking even more lively and vibrant against the backdrop of the begonia flowers by her temples. Little sister, this is a matter of your lifelong happiness. I can't make this decision for you. Although my half-sister is the daughter of a minister's household, her birth mother came from humble origins, so she could only enter a noble family as a concubine. To become a principal wife, she would have to marry beneath her station. In her past life, she married a poor scholar who had passed the imperial exams. Though his official rank was low, he treated her exceptionally well and remained devoted to her alone for a lifetime. Yet she despised her husband for his lack of ambition and turned the household into a scene of constant turmoil. Now that she has the superior Rebirth, she should be satisfied, shouldn't she? The stepsister pouted her pink lips, testing the waters as if coquettishly. Elder sister, surely you haven't also taken a fancy to Rebirth? Seeing the suspicion and wariness in my stepsister's eyes, my expression turned cold. Rest assured, little sister, in this lifetime, I will never marry Rebirth. Seeing my anger, my half-sister quickly shook my arm, acting coquettish and silly. Sorry, elder sister. It was my fault. You're magnanimous, so don't take it to heart. Okay. I pulled my arm away and waved dismissively at her. I'm tired, let's go back first. The day soon arrived for the top 3 scholars, the Zhuangyuan, Bangyang, and Tanhua, to parade through the streets, as my stepsister had hoped. Rebirth indeed came with a matchmaker to propose marriage. Rebirth performed a grand bow to the minister and respectfully stated his purpose. Minister Lin. The second young lady once showed me kindness by offering a meal. I wish to marry her as my principal wife and seek your permission. My father nodded in satisfaction. Good, this official approves of this marriage. My stepsister had been hiding behind the screen in the guest hall, eavesdropping. Seeing the marriage settled, she immediately came to gloat to me. Sister, Rebirth is indeed a man of deep affection and loyalty. I'll soon be the wife of the top scholar. You should work hard too. Sister, I set down the book in my hand and looked at my stepsister in confusion. Sister, the top scholar this time is not Rebirth. I'm afraid you won't be able to become the top scholar's wife. My stepsister's pretty face paled. She had thought father agreed so readily because of Rebirth's status as the top scholar. Ah, I must have made a mistake. It should be the wife of the 2nd or 3rd place scholar instead. Neither. He ranked 10th in the palace examination, which is still quite outstanding. In the previous life, with my assistance, Rebirth could focus solely on his studies without worry. In this life, without the financial support I provided and suffering from the bullying by privileged candidates, the chilblains on his hands never healed. Without the advantage of his exquisite calligraphy that once impressed the examiners, he missed the chance to secure the 3rd place in the imperial examinations this time. The stepsister threw down an impossible and ran out, lifting her skirts. Lana snorted in dissatisfaction. Eldest miss, you've always been too kind to second miss. making her forget her place. It's already good enough that she can marry Master Xie as his principal wife. Yes, it's already very good. Otherwise, father wouldn't have agreed. It's just a pity that the stepsister is too ambitious. She'll probably make a scene like in the previous life. I shook my head and stopped dwelling on it. I had already fulfilled my promise to River Xie before his death, facilitating his relationship with the stepsister. The rest was up to them. I thought my stepsister would resort to hunger strikes as she did in her previous life, but unexpectedly, she chose an even more extreme method this time. She actually sneaked out of the mansion to secretly meet with the spoiled son of a powerful family, dreaming of marrying into nobility as the legitimate wife. Little did she know. The man was merely toying with her. Not only was her dream shattered, but she also nearly lost her virtue. In the Lin family ancestral hall, my stepsister knelt before the ancestral tablets, her eyes swollen from crying. Father, mother, though I was wrong, it was you who drove me to this. If only I could marry into a noble family as the legitimate wife, like elder sister, I wouldn't have had to expose myself to seek a good match. Minister Lin's whip struck Kira Lin's back heavily. Ungrateful daughter, you yourself are shameless. Yet you blame us, Aunt Liu. I should not have been soft-hearted and let you raise the child back then. Look at what you've turned her into. If parents truly love their children, they must plan for their long-term future. Back then, my father had intended to raise Kira Lin under my mother's name. The status of the second legitimate daughter of the minister's household would have been enough to secure Kira Lin a good marriage. But Aunt Liu, fearing she would lose favor without a child to rely on, tearfully pleaded to keep Kira Lin by her side. Now she knows regret, but unfortunately, it's all too late. Concubine Liu threw herself at father's feet, pleading, Master, it's all this concubine's fault. I beg you, for the sake of your own flesh and blood, spare the second miss this time. Mother's beautiful eyes seemed to spit fire as she looked at concubine Liu. Kira Lin had not only ruined her own reputation but also tarnished the honor of all the daughters of the minister's household. Aunt Liu, Kira Lin now has only two paths to take. One is to preserve her virtue through death, and the other is to become a nun. No, father, mother, I don't want to die. I am still pure, and I have done River Xie a favor. He will surely marry me. At this moment, River Xie became Kira Lin's only lifeline. Aunt Liu banged her head against the ground, kowtowing incessantly. Madam, Kira is still young and doesn't understand the consequences. Please give her another chance. My mother's eyes instantly reddened. Aunt Liu, you care for your own daughter, but what about my Wani's marriage prospects? Originally, as the legitimate daughter of the minister's household, I was destined to marry into a noble family as the primary wife. Now, because of Kira Lin's actions, if I still wish to be a main wife, I can only marry beneath my station. Even so, I lost the right to choose and could only be picked by others. My father's expression gradually grew resolute. Though both were his daughters, a concubine-born daughter could never compare to a legitimate one. Just as father was about to order Kira Lin to be taken away, a servant came to report that General Jiyu had arrived to propose marriage. Upon hearing the servant's words, my concubine-born sister's eyes instantly lit up with hope. Father, mother, did you hear? I once met General Jiyu briefly. He must have been so taken with me that he came to marry me. Aunt Liu was also delighted. Her parenting approach wasn't wrong after all. Men indeed preferred her Kira's kind of naive, charming, and lively demeanor. Father frowned. As a minister of the board, he was no fool like Kira Lin and Aunt Liu. General Jiyu had achieved outstanding military feats. Even if Kira Lin were pure and innocent, he might not necessarily fancy her. Let alone now that her reputation was tarnished. Father ordered Kira Lin and concubine Liu to continue kneeling in the ancestral hall, while he took mother and me to the guest hall. Kira Lin agreed verbally, but fearing the marriage arrangement might be changed, she had concubine Liu cover for her as she climbed out through the window. In the guest hall, my parents were speaking with General Jiyu, while I hid behind the screen listening. Whether in my past life or this one, I knew very little about this General Jiyu. I only know he came from humble origins, fought bravely in battles, and was a close confidant of the emperor. In his previous life, He never married. Some said he didn't like women, while others claimed there was a woman he loved but could never have. The memory was abruptly interrupted by General Gu's resolute voice. Lord Lin, Lady Lin. I have long admired your eldest daughter, Lin Wani, and have come today to propose marriage. I sincerely hope for your approval. I hadn't fully processed Reese Gu's words when a woman with a frenzied expression burst through the door. General Gu, you must have mistaken the name. Right, the one you're supposed to marry is me. Kira Lin, isn't it? Reese Gu looked at Kira Lin before him, an involuntary aura of killing intent radiating from his entire being. This general hasn't yet reached the age of dim-sightedness. I advise the second young lady to choose her words carefully. Kira Lin was startled by the overwhelming aura emanating from Reese Gu, but she still mustered the courage to argue for herself. No, I don't believe it. How could you possibly like the rule-following, rigid Lin Wani but not someone as vibrant and lively as me, because you're not even worthy of comparing to a single strand of her hair? Reese Gu rejected her outright, leaving no room for Kira Lin to harbor any illusions. Fearing that Kira Lin might say something irreparable, her father quickly had her taken away. Kira Lin was dragged away, her eyes filled with anger and resentment. After Reese Gu left, my mother asked for my opinion. Daughter, what do you think of General Gu? He braved the pressure to propose at such a time, which shows he is a responsible man. General Gu's parents passed away long ago, and he has no troublesome relatives. You would live a comfortable and carefree life if you married him. Since I came of age, many have come to propose marriage, but I have politely declined them all. Times have changed now. With the incident involving Kira Lin, General Gu is currently my best option, and his conditions truly appeal to me. Not wanting my mother to worry about my marriage any longer, I have decided to marry Reese Gu. Mother, I am willing to marry him. Mother nodded repeatedly with relief. Good, good, good. I'll go prepare your dowry right away, and make sure you have a grand wedding. Thank you, Mother. In my previous life, though Mother didn't think highly of Rebirth, she still prepared 6 to 4 cases of dowry for me, fearing I might suffer hardships in my husband's family. It was precisely because of my substantial dowry that Rebirth was able to pave his way to success. Reese Gu has already built a vast fortune for himself, so life with him should be quite comfortable. My engagement to Reese Gu caused quite a stir in the capital. No one expected that I, whose reputation had been tarnished by Kira Lin, could still marry into General Gu's household. For a time, tea houses and taverns were abuzz with rumors that General Gu had long admired me, which was why he stepped forward to defend me when I faced slander and ridicule. When Lana told me the rumors, I was embroidering a red bridal veil. Miss General Gu's betrothal gift list is incredibly long. Could he possibly be offering his entire fortune? I was originally unfamiliar with Reese Gu and even somewhat afraid of him, but when I saw that betrothal gift list filled with rare treasures, I was genuinely moved. No matter why he chose to marry me, just for the sake of the importance he has shown me, I will help him manage the household affairs well, ensuring he has no worries at home after my marriage was settled. Kira Lin reached out to Rebirth. Remembering the kindness from that day, Rebirth ultimately agreed to marry Kira Lin. However, Rebirth's family was poor, with an elderly mother who was bedridden year-round, making it impossible to provide a decent dowry. Kira was very dissatisfied but had no choice but to swallow her pride. As if determined to compete, Kira Lin set her wedding day to be the same as mine. The day of the wedding arrived quickly. As the maids and nannies were helping me with my makeup, Kira Lin walked in, dressed in a bright red wedding gown. All of you, leave. I have something to say to my sister. Second miss, I'm afraid I cannot obey your order. The madam has instructed me to stay by the eldest miss's side without leaving even a step. Lana shielded me, not giving Kira Lin any face at all. Kira Lin's delicate face flushed with anger. Sister, you're usually too kind to these servants, making them forget their place and dare to defy me, their master. Today, let me teach these insolent slaves a lesson on your behalf, lest they embarrass our minister's mansion when we arrive at the general's residence. Kira Lin raised her hand to slap Lana, but I swiftly caught her wrist. Little sister, you have no right to discipline my people. To avoid missing the auspicious hour, you'd better hurry back and finish dressing. Oh, and let me give you some advice. Cut down on those romance novels. I'm not foolish enough to let you steal my marriage arrangement. Someone, escort the second young miss back. Yes, eldest young miss, the matron responded and immediately grabbed Kira Lynn's arm. Pulling her out, Kira Lynn stared at me blankly. Even forgetting to resist, she seemed unable to believe that I had so easily seen through her thoughts. She truly harbored the intention of switching brides. Thinking that once she and Reese Gu consummated their marriage, even if the mistake was discovered, both the general's residence and the minister's residence would have to swallow this bitter pill for the sake of propriety. Clearly, the storybooks made bride switching seem so simple, but in reality, before she could even put it into practice, her scheme was seen through. Kira Lynn's clever plan fell through, leaving her no choice but to reluctantly board the shabby two-person sedan chair. As for me, I was surrounded by attendants and lifted onto an extravagant 8-person sedan chair, with a dowry so vast it seemed endless at first glance. Concubine Liu exhausted the family's savings and tearfully pleaded with Minister Lin, barely managing to scrape together a dowry worthy of 8 bearers. Xie River was dressed in the festive attire of a groom, yet his face showed little joy as he watched the sedan chair carrying the eldest daughter of the minister's household disappear into the distance. He couldn't shake the feeling that this scene was eerily familiar. A voice inside him seemed to scream that the bride in that sedan chair should have been his. Noticing the groom's dazed expression, the wedding matron hurriedly reminded him, "Lord Xie, the bride has been received. It's time to return to the mansion for the wedding ceremony." River Xie took one last deep look at the departing wedding procession before mounting his horse. The sedan chair swayed gently before finally coming to a stop at the entrance of the general's residence. When the sedan curtain was lifted, instead of the red silk I had expected, my small hand was directly grasped by a strong, calloused palm. I was led by the owner of this large hand through the entire wedding ceremony. Sitting on the dragon and phoenix wedding quilt in the bridal chamber, I felt a bit nervous, unsure how to face Reese Gu later. I don't know how much time had passed when footsteps sounded outside the door, the weight on my head lifted, and the man before me held a stilliard rod in his hand, gazing at me with gentle restraint. "My bride, it's time to drink the wedding wine." The general, who was decisive and formidable on the battlefield, now stumbled over his words, visibly nervous. If his subordinates were to see him like this, who knows how they would laugh at him. I was originally somewhat afraid of Reese Gu, but seeing him in such a flustered state suddenly put me at ease. I looped my arm around the man's strong one, feeling his tension and tremors, then tilted my head to bring my cherry lips closer to his. Reese Gu's body grew even more rigid, beads of cold sweat rolling down his forehead. "Darling, I don't want to sleep in the study or on the floor anymore. I want to be your real husband." His rough thumb brushed over the rouge on my lips, yet he dared not apply the slightest pressure. As if I were a porcelain doll that might shatter at the slightest touch. All right, the moment I decided to marry Reese Gu, I was prepared to give him everything. "Thank you, my love." At the sound of the 5th watch's clapper, Reese Gu traced the contours of the person in his arms by candlelight. Even now, it still felt unreal to him. One day, he had truly managed to pluck the most prized begonia blossom of the capital and cradle it in his arms. I slept deeply, not waking until the sun was high in the sky. When Lana came in to attend to me, she couldn't stop giggling. "I feel like my whole body is about to fall apart." Reese Gu was holding back. I can't imagine how I'd handle it if he really went all out, but his muscles are so well trained, so incredibly strong. Just thinking about it makes my face flush. After I finished lunch, Reese Gu returned from court. "My dear, are you feeling any discomfort in your body, perhaps because of our most intimate contact?" Reese Gu was no longer as nervous when he showed concern for me. The thought that it was this man before me who helped clean my body before bed made my face burn with heat. I averted my gaze and replied softly, "I'm fine." Reese Gu picked me up and gently placed me on the bed. "I'm sorry, my love. I didn't control my strength well enough. I'll be gentler tonight. Just thinking about having to do that again tonight makes me so embarrassed I want to bury my face in the blankets." But I haven't forgotten the important matter at hand. I raised my hand to press against Ri's chest, stopping his further advances. Husband, why did you really marry me? As soon as I finished speaking, Gu suddenly looked up, his raven feather-like eyelashes trembling slightly, unexpectedly glistening with a layer of moisture. My lady, you truly have forgotten me completely. I blinked in confusion. Gu seemed to imply that we had met before our marriage. But why don't I have any recollection of it? Seeing the bewilderment in my eyes, Gu grew even more aggrieved. He rested his head on my shoulder, his scorching breath spraying against the hollow of my neck, his voice muffled as he spoke. My lady, do you remember the young officer you met in Chuanju 5 years ago? I had just crawled out from a pile of corpses back then. The pain from my wounds and the deaths of my brothers had robbed me of the will to live. It was then that you appeared. Like a beam of light illuminating my bleak life, you told me I was a warrior of the great Yu kingdom, more deserving of life than anyone else. You gave me enough silver to survive, helping me endure those most difficult years. Gu's words reminded me of a distant memory from 5 years ago when I returned to my hometown with my parents to pay respects to our ancestors, while taking Lana to the street to buy crabapple blossom pastries. I encountered a blood-covered young man by the roadside. Seeing him dressed in tattered armor, I was immediately moved by compassion. Since childhood, I've admired soldiers who defend our homeland. Hearing him murmur about joining his fallen brothers, I feared he might seek death. Hurriedly, I comforted him, urging him to live on, and gave him all the money I had with me. I truly never expected that a single act of kindness from back then would blossom into such a wonderful bond for me. In my previous life, Rebirth married me out of gratitude for saving his life, but we ended up as bitter partners. Will Gu and I come to the same fate? With this thought, the hand pressed against Gu's chest trembled slightly. Would I repeat the mistakes of my past life? Gu sensed my unease and was terrified. Despite it being broad daylight, he insisted on checking me over. Darling, are you in pain somewhere? Let me take a look at you, he urged. I awkwardly grasped Gu's large hand. Husband, I'm fine. I still have something to ask you, my dear. Ask away. If I hide anything from you, may I be struck down by. Before Gu could finish the last word, I raised my hand to press against his lips. Husband, don't say such ominous words. My question is simple to answer. Did you marry me out of gratitude? Gu was about to kiss the fingers I pressed against his lips when he heard my question and immediately shook his head like a rattle drum. My dear, the kindness you showed me back then only brought us together. There are many ways I could repay you. Marrying you wasn't the only option. I've always carried a secret in my heart. Every time I returned to the capital, I couldn't resist sneaking a glance at you. Just seeing you from afar was enough to satisfy me. Later, I wasn't content with just looking. I wanted you to be my wife, but I feared I wasn't worthy of you, so I worked tirelessly to earn military merits, striving to reach your side as quickly as possible. The affection in Gu's eyes for me was genuine. I knew he wasn't lying. He married me out of love. With my heart unburdened, I threw myself into Gu's arms. If in my past life I hadn't married Rebirth, I could have spent my life with this man who adored me completely. It turns out he never married in his previous life, all because of me. Thankfully, fate gave me a chance to be reborn. This time, we didn't miss each other. I was getting along famously with Gu, and soon it was time for the traditional bride's return visit to make a good impression on his in-laws. Gu had prepared lavish gifts for the occasion well in advance. When the carriage stopped at the minister's residence, my parents were already waiting at the gate. Seeing the boxes of gifts being carried into the house, my mother's eyes were filled with pride and satisfaction. Aunt Liu stood to the side, nearly tearing a hole in her handkerchief with envy. I and Gu stepped forward to pay our respects to my parents. My father eagerly made a gesture to help us up. Dear son-in-law, no need for such formalities. The meal has been prepared for a while. You must drink a few more cups with me today. Rest assured, father-in-law. I will drink until you are satisfied. Ha ha ha, good. Seeing that we were about to enter the house, Aunt Liu grew anxious and quickly spoke up. Master, Madam, Kira and her husband should be arriving soon. Could we wait a little longer? Aunt Liu, you are becoming increasingly presumptuous. Those two are not worthy of my waiting." With those words, my father turned and left in a huff. Aunt Liu's eyes instantly reddened, but she bit her lip hard, not daring to let herself cry out loud. Upon entering the minister's residence, Reese Gu went with his father to the study to talk, while I was pulled back to my room by my mother. "Daughter, tell me the truth, is Reese Gu really good to you?" Seeing the worry in my mother's eyes, I quickly recounted the encounter I had with Reese Gu 5 years ago. After hearing my account, my mother nodded with satisfaction. "Reese Gu is indeed a fine young man worthy of entrusting one's life to. It's fortunate that you two didn't miss each other. Mother, you can rest assured, your daughter will surely be happy. Today, I noticed that Aunt Liu didn't look well. Are my stepsister and her husband not getting along?" Mentioning Kira Lin and River Xie, my mother instinctively frowned. If Kira Lin had agreed when River Xie first proposed, she could have been very happy too, but she was unsatisfied and wanted to marry someone even better, only to ruin her reputation and implicate you in the process. Although River Xie married her out of gratitude for that one meal, he doesn't really like her anymore. I heard they still haven't consummated the marriage. Aunt Liu went to beg your father, hoping he would pressure River Xie to treat Kira Lin properly. But how could your father, as a father-in-law, bring up such matters? Just wait and see. When Kira Lin returns home today, there's bound to be a scene. As soon as mother finished speaking, the gatekeeper respectfully announced from outside that Kira Lin and River Xie were quarreling at the door. By the time mother and I arrived, Kira Lin was tearfully berating River Xie. "Woo-woo, River Xie, you have no heart. You knew perfectly well that I was returning home with my elder sister today, yet you prepared such shabby gifts for the homecoming. You deliberately threw my face to the ground and trampled on it. If I had known you'd be so useless, I shouldn't have given you food that day. I should have let you starve to death on the streets. And as for your sickly mother, not only is she incapable of working, but she also orders me around. How dare she?" In this life, River Xie failed to catch the emperor's eye and could only become a minor 7th rank official. In a few days, he would leave the capital to take up his post. Kira Lin, accustomed to the capital's prosperity, naturally had no desire to follow him to a remote small county and suffer. River Xie stood beside Kira Lin in a slightly worn blue robe, hands clasped behind his back, his face tense and silent. Though Aunt Liu ached to see Kira Lin suffer, she dared not utter a word against River Xie. If not for River Xie's willingness to marry Kira Lin, she would already be keeping company with the dim lamplight and ancient Buddha. Hardship is only temporary, as long as husband and wife are united. Life will surely get better and better. Aunt Liu urged Kira Lin to go inside to talk, telling her not to make a scene outside, but Kira Lin wouldn't listen and instead cried even louder. My mother gave a meaningful glance to the two matrons beside her, understanding her intention. They stepped forward without a word and dragged Kira Lin straight into the mansion. I was about to follow them back inside when River Xie called out to me from behind. "Wani, could we speak privately? I recently had a dream where we were." "Shut up." Before River Xie could finish speaking, I turned around angrily and cut off his next words. River Xie looked at my tense expression, and the corners of his mouth suddenly curled into a faint smile. "The scar on your palm was cut when I knocked over the medicine bowl. So that dream was real, wasn't it, brother-in-law? Instead of wasting time studying an unrealistic dream, you'd do better to think about how to be a good official and benefit the people. Also, you should address my wife as Madame Gu." Reese Gu appeared behind me at some point, his arm firmly wrapped around my waist, giving me a strong sense of security. River Xie, a mere scholar, was no match for the iron-blooded general who had fought his way through blood and storms. He lost before even speaking. "General Gu is right to reprimand me. This official has been impolite." Reese Gu no longer looked at River Xie, holding me as we walked forward. Kira Lin didn't quiet down even after being dragged into the mansion, lying on the ground and crying incessantly. "Father, could you please help River Xie secure an official position in the capital? Your daughter wishes to fulfill her filial duties by staying close to you and mother." Her father was so angry that he smashed a teacup. "Kira Lin, One must learn to be content. Riversiere is the best match you could hope for. No. Father, both my sister and I are your daughters, flesh of your flesh. Why are you so biased in her favor? If it were my sister making this request today, you would surely agree, wouldn't you? There's a distinction between legitimate and illegitimate children. How dare you compare yourself to your legitimate elder sister? If you don't know your place, get out of the minister's residence now. Father's agreement to let Kira Lynn marry Riversiere was already the greatest leniency he could show her. Nothing more could be expected. Riversiere stood awkwardly to the side, his hands clenched tightly into fists at his sides. Only now did he realize how gravely mistaken he had been. After returning from the minister's residence, I took the initiative to tell Reese Gu about my rebirth. From Riversiere's words today, I learned that he must have regained memories of his past life. Rather than letting him reveal it and drive a wedge between Reese Gu and me, I decided to take the initiative myself. The idea of past and present lives is utterly absurd, yet because it came from me, Reese Gu believed it without hesitation. Reese Gu held me tightly in his arms, as if I might vanish the next moment. My love, I'm sorry. In our past life, I was too slow. Thankfully, Riversiere was foolish enough to give me the chance to seize the opportunity this time. I hugged Reese Gu tightly, my voice slightly choked with emotion. Husband, I also want to thank you for firmly choosing me. After this heart-to-heart conversation, my relationship with Reese Gu deepened even further. However, one thing troubled me greatly. Ever since Reese Gu learned the origin of the scar on my palm, he had been collecting various ointments, hoping to remove that scar. After the scar had completely faded, I was diagnosed with a joyful pulse. I was pregnant. Reese Gu was immersed in the joy of soon becoming a father, but unexpectedly, barbarians invaded the borders, and the emperor ordered him to lead troops into battle immediately. While preparing Reese Gu's luggage, I felt my right eye twitching incessantly. I remembered that in my past life, there had been no such incident of barbarian disturbances at this time. I ordered Lana to bring the map for me to examine, and I found the name of the county adjacent to the barbarians strangely familiar. Then it struck me. This was the very county where Riversiere had taken up his post. I hurriedly told Reese Gu about my discovery. My lord, I suspect that after Riversiere regained his memories of his past life, he would never be content with just being a minor county magistrate. I suspect he has betrayed our country and colluded with the enemy. In our past life, with the full support of me and the Ministry of Personnel, Riversiere was immediately favored by the emperor and eventually rose to the rank of a first-grade official. But in this life, he is merely a lowly 7th-grade county magistrate. Such a drastic fall from grace is something he simply cannot accept, and it's possible he might resort to desperate measures. Thank you for the reminder, my dear. Don't worry, I won't let him succeed. On the day we bid farewell to Reese Gu, my mother stood with me on the city wall for a long time. My daughter, don't worry, Reese is brave and skilled in battle, he will surely return safely. I stroked my still flat belly and nodded firmly. For the sake of us both, he won't let anything happen to himself. Every day without Reese Gu is a torment. My belly grows bigger by the day, yet the letters from the front line have stopped. In the blink of an eye, it was New Year's Eve. Fearing my melancholy, my parents came to the general's residence to celebrate the festival with me. Daughter, today I cooked all your favorite dishes myself. Come, have a taste. Thank you, mother, I actually have no appetite. But to reassure my parents and for the sake of the baby in my womb, I forced myself to eat a little more. With a loud bang, the door was violently kicked open from the outside. The hidden guards left to me by Reese Gu immediately appeared, shielding me and my parents. A man and a woman walked in through the door, the woman smiling triumphantly. Mom, Dad, sister, didn't expect to see me again so soon, did you? But this time, it's your turn to look up at me. The tables have turned. Now it's my time to shine, my dear sister. I really should thank you after all. If you hadn't given me the chance to save River that day, I wouldn't have been able to marry him. You thought you'd married the perfect man. But alas, we're the ones laughing last. Kira Lynn pointed at us with one hand, laughing so hard she nearly doubled over. Riversiere stood behind her, his gaze dark and gloomy, with a slight raise of his hand. Someone immediately stepped forward from behind him and restrained Kira Lin. Before Kira Lin could finish her boasting, she was suddenly grabbed by the arm and instantly flew into a rage. "You lowly dogs, who gave you permission to lay hands on me? After the new emperor ascends the throne, my husband will become the prime minister, and I will be the prime minister's wife. Remove your filthy hands at once. Madam, we beg your pardon, but it was Lord Xie who ordered us to do this." The guard's words stunned Kira Lin. She turned her head in disbelief to look at River Xie. River Xie walked up to Kira Lin with a sinister smile and immediately slapped her several times. "You wretch, if I hadn't been blinded by your facade, I wouldn't have mistaken a fisheye for a pearl. You truly deserve to die," River Xie said as he thrust his sword into Kira Lin's chest. "Ah, it hurts so much. My love, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I shouldn't have humiliated you when you were down. Please give me another chance." At this moment, Kira Lin no longer had her previous arrogant demeanor. Tears and snot covered her face as she pitifully begged the executioner before her to spare her life. River Xie showed no mercy to Kira Lin. He continued to press his sword deeper, but his eyes were fixed on me. "I'm sorry, Wani, I was wrong. After marrying Kira Lin, I realized how wonderful you truly are. I regret it now. Please come back to me. I don't care that you've been with Reese Gu. As long as you personally remove that bastard from your womb and return to me, I'll spare your entire family." River Xie isn't truly remorseful, nor does he love me that much. He simply realized his life became even worse after marrying Kira Lin, the one he could never truly have. River Xie, "I'd rather die than be with you. My gaze is resolute. I will never compromise with that hypocrite." River Xie, "Lin Wani, what kind of love potion has Reese Gu given you to make you adore him so? He's just a country bumpkin who only knows how to fight. How could he possibly compare to me? If you remain deluded, don't blame me for disregarding our past marital bond. Guards, seize all these traitorous rebels." River Xie, "You are the true traitor here. The one who deserves to die is you." A familiar voice came from outside the door, and I quickly turned my gaze toward the sound. "Husband." Reese Gu almost ran to my side. "My love, I'm sorry for making you worry." I disregarded the chill of the armor and tightly embraced the man before me. "My lord, I'm just glad you're safe." River Xie stared fiercely at the two embracing each other, then took his own life with the very sword that had killed Kira Lin. It turned out that with my warning, Reese Gu and the emperor had devised a plan to feign defeat and lure the enemy out of hiding. River Xie and his followers indeed fell into the trap, just as they thought they had successfully breached the capital. Reese Gu and the emperor's forces coordinated from within and without, annihilating the rebels in one fell swoop. Thus, the emperor finally purged the traitors who had been lurking within the imperial court. The emperor rewarded the meritorious accordingly, appointing Reese Gu as the great general who guards the north and bestowing upon me the title of first-rank lady of the command. 5 months later, Reese Gu and I welcomed the birth of our first son. Reese Gu looked at the little one who bore a 50% resemblance to him, wishing he could carry the child to court in his arms. Sitting beneath the crabapple tree, I watched the father and son playing together, a blissful smile spreading across my face. This life was finally complete.